Vipassana teachers, Joseph Goldstein, Jack Kornfield, Sharon Salzberg. I was at Naropa in 1974 when I was 20 years old, and the first summer of Naropa, and I went out there, which was a Tibetan Buddhist, mostly Tibetan Buddhist summer camp. But Joseph Goldstein, Jack Kornfield were there teaching under Ram Dass, who was also there. And for some reason I was drawn to them, and they started teaching 2-week silent retreats in the fall after that first summer at Naropa, which I began to attend. So I did a whole bunch of 1 week, 10-day, 2-week silent Vipassana retreats before deciding to go back to medical school. So they were a big influence on me, Jack Kornfield and Joseph Goldstein. And I was always interested. I got to know them first as teachers and then as friends. And now they're somewhere between still my teachers, really, and colleagues and friends. And I was always interested in their personal experience, their psychological experience, their emotional experience. And I was fortunate enough to become friendly enough with them that I could kind of get behind who they were as teachers and more have a sense of what they were struggling with as people, which I found very helpful for myself because it kind of gave me permission to struggle with whatever I was struggling with as a person. So I dug around in their writings to try to find when they were being most self-revealing, which was not often. But occasionally in their books, they would drop little bits about themselves. So that's what I want to read you first. So this is from Jack Kornfield. It's excerpted from his first real book, which was A Path with Heart. Have any of you read that book or parts of that book? Oh, that's interesting. It's worth looking at. It's called A Path with Heart. It's his first real book where he talks about his own journey. He was a monk in a forest monastery in Thailand for 2 years after being in the Peace Corps. And so he talks about his journey into Buddhist practice. He had a very good teacher named Ajahn Chah, who was like the real thing. So the book is about his experiences in the monastery, doing intensive practice, and then coming back out of the monastery back into America. So it's interesting. So here, deep in that book, he's talking about issues that relate to our topic for the evening. In my earliest practice as a celibate monk, he writes, I had long bouts of lust and images of sexual fantasy. My teacher said to name them or label them, which I did, but they often repeated. Accept this, I thought, but then they will never stop. But still I tried it. Over days and weeks, these thoughts became even stronger. Eventually, I decided to expand my awareness to see what other feelings were present. To my surprise, I found a deep well of loneliness almost every time the fantasies arose. It wasn't all lust, it was loneliness, and the sexual images were ways of seeking comfort and closeness. But they kept arising. As the loneliness continued to arise, I brought more careful attention to where it was held. Mostly it felt centered in my stomach. Fear, pain, sadness, longing, and hunger were all present, along with a general aversion to feeling these states. I'm just going to interrupt Jack for 1 second. So he's writing, he's condensing down probably a year of practice into these couple of paragraphs that I'm reading. So don't get the wrong idea that you can just do it. You could just do it in an hour, but because actually most of our meditations are pretty repetitive and we just keep going through these same sorts of cycles. But anyway, he's condensing down something. And the practice that he's describing is kind of the methodology of mindfulness or Vipassana practice, where after first learning how to focus your attention on a single object, like the breath, for instance, you're probably all familiar with that, you then begin to expand the field of awareness using what's called bare.